Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to start off by running this beautiful pot. And for those of you who are just tuning in, we are going to be focusing on very, very beautiful aspects of a dish today. We are going to be focusing on cost effect and taste, let alone the nutritional factor. So for that, I have a very, very simple dish that we're going to start with, which is our githeri. But first off, I will start with some of the ingredients which we need to first of all pre-cook. So we are going to be jumping straight into the potatoes, the jacket potatoes. So very, very simple technique of doing those. You'll require some water, so be sure to fill up a pot of water. Remember, we're going to be making some jacket potatoes, and jacket potatoes is just simply to mean that we are serving the potatoes with the skins on. We're just going to boil them whole, but there is a very simple technique to that which you're about to see. So into a pot with some water, we're going to add to that just a little bit of salt. And to that, very simply, I'm just going to grab a knife. So very, very simple technique to making jacket potatoes. Just make an incision right over the top lengthways and once across. Turn it around as well. Put another incision across and lengthways. And this is just going to go straight into your pot of water. And we're just going to repeat the same for the other two pieces. Right, so we've made some incisions which, of course, once these potatoes are fully cooked, you'll be able to understand why I'm doing so. So do stay tuned. We are going to come back to that particular part. So very simply, I'm just going to turn that on. And we're going to cover that, and we're just going to allow those to cook for about 20 minutes. In the meantime, we do have another pot on the side here which is already hot and ready to go. And to that, I will simply start with the meat. So we're first of all going to start by just getting all that excess fat off our meat. Remember, I'm working with a beautiful cut of lamb shoulder, so this is particularly good for the fact that it's got some beautiful bone there. You can actually be able to see through the marrows. So this particular meat is very, very good, particularly for this recipe, and I would recommend, if you can't get this particular cut of meat, a leg of lamb will do just fine. So we're just going to just cut those up quickly. And remember, I'm leaving the fat on the meat. Remember, we are going to be cooking the lamb in its own fat, so do not be tempted to trim it off. So we're just going to cut those into some beautiful chunks. And as I said, be sure to actually leave some of those bones in there. Be sure to leave some of that beautiful fat in there. Remember, it will all cook down. And now to that, we will be adding just a little bit of oil. So probably just about a quarter of a tablespoon should be enough. Then be sure to move that oil around your pot before the meat goes in, just to make sure it doesn't stick to the bottom. And we're just simply going to add our meat in there. And now this is going to be going at medium heat for a few seconds. Right, so simple as that. We're also going to just turn that board around and get a replacement knife. So very, very simple with this particular starting phase of the meat. Very important for you to actually just take some time to brown the meat in its own fat. Remember, there's quite a bit of flavor in there. Right, I'm just going to grab a plate. So actually, particularly for a beautiful cut such as lamb, remember it's a very, very young meat, it's very tender. You do get some beautiful fat in there that really gives it a very, very beautiful flavor. So very, very crucial. And as I said, if you don't manage to get a cut of shoulder, you can actually get a cut from the leg. It will still give you some very, very good bone, which actually contains the marrow that we're looking for. Right, so we're just going to cover that a little bit. We're just going to allow it to really build some steam. Remember, particularly for this stage, you're basically just trying to color your meat. Remember, you are going to have some of that beautiful burnt residue that's going to be left on the sides of your pot. Very, very crucial. It actually contains that much flavor. So I also recommend that when you're doing this particular process, remember it's got a more of a two-way cooking technique to it. So we are going to brown the meat and take it out. And then we're going to rest that for a few minutes and then come back and incorporate it into the dish later. Right, so just build up a bit of steam in there. It might get a little smoky in the room, so very, very crucial that you control your temperature really well. Right, so we're just going to allow the meat to continue browning for a few minutes. I'm also going to take the lid off the other pot, and we're just going to allow the potatoes to continue cooking. But in the meantime, we are going to be using some of these other ingredients. So I'm just going to start off by slicing up some white onions. Right, so about 2 medium-sized onions should do. If you don't have a white onion, you can also work with red onions or leeks. They'll still really give you that beautiful butteriness to the dish, and a very beautiful savory taste as well. Remember, white onions are not as pungent, so they give a very, very beautiful buttery finish to the dish. So just to finish that up, and we're just going to keep mixing that through. So as I mentioned earlier in the show, we are going to be focusing on some very beautiful local dishes as well in this particular segment. And it's very particular that you also remember that for some of the meals that we are very accustomed to making ourselves at home, some of them may be a bit pricey on one end. Some of them are a little more cost effective, but they always need just a bit of input and a bit of creativity, and you can actually turn a very simple dish into something really likable. Right, and as soon as you just have your githeri just perfectly mixed through and nicely coated with Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. For those who are just catching up with us, we have just been doing a very, very beautiful lamb and githeri mix. We've also been just blanching some potatoes here, which I'm going to show you what we're going to do with them now. And I also have a smoothie here that we made a little earlier, which we're just going to refresh in the blender, and then I'll show you just a simple technique as to serve. So first off, I will start by just taking you one step back to the jacket potatoes we were mentioning earlier. So this is a particularly very, very simple kind of way to do your potatoes, and I'm just going to explain that quickly. So for those of you who are with us from the beginning, remember we had made some incisions to the potatoes, and that's basically what I wanted to show you now. And very, very particular technique of making jacket potatoes. It's always a little easier and they cook a little faster once you just put those crosses on both sides. Second of all, it also helps you to be able to peel them. So as you can see, the skins really come off really easily. All you need to do is grab the innermost part of that incision, especially from the center. And once you pull those sideways, you manage to pull your potato very, very easily. Now, just a very, very simple technique of serving your jacket potato. I'm just going to show you now. You do that on this beautiful plate. So very, very simple. It's just easy as that. You just need to just give that a bit of a press, and it should just be able to open up nicely over the top. If it doesn't, you could always use your spoon or knife, and it should actually be able to just open up really well off the top. Another technique would just be putting your knife right through and just spreading it a little bit, turn it again, get it almost halfway and spread it a little bit. And once you move that to your plate, it should be able to open up just like that. As simple as that. And one technique I would show you particularly is just by serving a knob of butter in there. Another technique would also be just to just sprinkle a bit of some whipped cream right in the middle there. And that will actually cream into the potatoes very, very easily. And to that, we're also going to be serving the githeri that we did to go with that earlier. And this is a very, very simple one. So this particularly, for those of you who are just catching up, we did a beautiful githeri dish earlier. And very, very simply, we incorporated a bit of lamb in there. So I always like to start off by just scooping a bit of the githeri to the bottom there. So it's a little much easier to serve the githeri mixture right at the bottom because you are trying to build also a bit of height on your plate, and then just finish off by serving your chunks of lamb right over the githeri, just like that. And that actually makes for a very, very appealing presentation. It gives it a bit of height, and your dish just doesn't disappear into the bowl. So simple as that. As I mentioned earlier, very, very simple techniques to making very, very simple and tasty food. I hope you've all been able to actually learn something from this particular simple dish today. And as I said earlier on in the show, our idea, particularly in this season, is not a matter of really trying to ruin or to just bring so much modifications to something really old. It's actually a matter of bringing some beautiful, nutritious dishes to the table without actually really going really far deep into your pockets. Remember, it is the first it's the first month of the year, and everything just happens to be a little more expensive now. So very, very important to be cost effective. Now to that, we also had a smoothie which we're just going to quickly refresh. Right, simple as that. And we can just easily just pour that into a glass. And it's as smooth as that, simple as that. One of the best and healthiest options of a smoothie. Remember, we are concentrating on a lot of smoothies this particular season which are not actually incorporated with any natural or unnatural sweetening agents. So this particularly works out to be a very, very beautiful, handy, cheap, economic and healthy meal for you and your family. So from the studios and myself, it has been a pleasure being with you today. I do hope you've managed to pick up something that you can actually make of use to yourself at home for you and your family, or even just to a technique of cooking that you used before. And I do hope you have actually had a bit of fun as well right through the show. My name is Chef Andy and I have been your host. I will also recommend that you do check out our Facebook page. Do check out our YouTube links. We got plenty of videos in there. Just search for lunch guide or dinner guide on YouTube. You should actually be able to see much more content that we've been building over the past few seasons. And even if you've missed the seasons that we did earlier, you should actually be able to recap on most of them online. We do appreciate your feedback and your comments, so please keep those comments, your inquiries and any suggestions coming in. We do appreciate your feedback. And from myself and the studios, I will bid you farewell and a lovely evening to you all. A beautiful